What's up, everybody, and welcome to ITG Daily, the show that brings you the hottest in gaming news. I'm Drew Bosley. You can find me on Twitter at ArtisticGamer28, and that's the one, the only. It is Scott Savage. You can find him on Twitter at Savage. Scott, what's happening today, buddy?
Oh man, yesterday was kind of a blur to me, but I was back in with Link's Awakening, and
Nice.
I'm loving that game so much. There's a surprising amount of Mario crossover.
Really?
Yeah, Goombas, Chain Chomps, Thwomps. There's a whole lot of weird stuff going on.
Well, hey, whatever works, man.
Mario himself.
Nintendo just doesn't really kind of kick it for me anymore. I gotta be honest. They're just not hitting home where I want to be anymore. I'm more on the PlayStation, Xbox side of things. There's more games over there speak to me. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
But Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 looks incredible. Let's be honest. I definitely love it now.
The still image we've seen so far.
Yeah, we haven't seen too much on it. But what people can see is us over on twitch.tv/the official ITG, as well as YouTube at ITG Reviews. But if you can't join us live, hit us up later. InsideTheGame.ca, podcast services, and TV streaming networks around the globe. Scott, coming up on today's show, Respawn is hiring for a single-player experience set in the world of Apex Legends. No Titanfall 3. We'll get into that one. Ubisoft responds with, wait, we didn't mean it. And knew that was just funny. And Haven Studios is now officially a part of the PlayStation family. Congrats to Jade and her team over there. And we'll talk about what they're up to, because they're changing some of the way PlayStation looks to structure their future projects, which is pretty interesting. Dude, huge article on that one. But I was able to pick and choose what we can talk about. So let's get going over with. Respawn is hiring for a single-player FPS set in the Apex Legends universe. Developer is hiring for multiple roles for an unannounced title. This comes from the ways of VG247. Some new job listings suggest that Respawn Entertainment is hiring for a single-player Apex Legends game. If anything is signaling the death knell of Titanfall, it's a series of new job listings on Respawn's website pointing towards the developer's next single-player title. As spotted by Dextero, the Apex Legends and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order developer is currently looking to fill a number of roles for an Apex Universe incubation project. Scott, I want to stop right there. What's your thoughts on that, man?
Oh, well, I have good news for Respawn. There already is an Apex universe. That is called Titanfall. I'm a huge Titanfall fan, so it's really painful, that whole situation for me, and it makes me quite angry to see that they will just ignore their own property. Titanfall 2 didn't get the kind of commercial success that it deserved, and that's why Titanfall is just flatlined now. But the number 2 had a really good campaign, albeit short, but it was great. Number 3, if there ever were to be a 3, I would expect a campaign with that, and it would be great, and I would love it. In fact, I'll pre-order it, just like I did a Titanfall 2. One of the 2 games I've ever pre-ordered in my life.
Yeah, it's the specific naming of Apex Universe that seems to suggest that Respawn is intending to do with a series that has its foundations in the mecha game Titanfall. One of the roles, which mentions the Apex Universe, is a senior engine/systems engineer role. However, it's hard to surface artist. It's in the hard surface artist role that gives the game away a bit. The description notes that the role is intended to, quote, help build a brand new Respawn single-player adventure, end quote. Scott, I get where you're coming from, dude. Titanfall was fantastic. Titanfall 2 really finally brought the single-player game. It was funny because a lot of people were complaining Titanfall 1 launches going, yo, where's the single player? There is no single player. It's online only. It's PvP, blah, blah, blah. Enjoy your game, right? And they did. A lot of people did. Dude, I loved it. There's nothing cooler than calling in your Titan, man. Like, what an experience that was. I remember playing that game for the first time, having an absolute blast. And then Titanfall 2 comes. Dude, but EA, once again, just puts it out to die. And what did they time it with? It was bad timing on the release day.
I think it was Battlefield 1.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Dude, they were competing against their own properties. I was like, that was one of the biggest mistakes in the world. What are you doing over there? And then Titanfall 2 suffered because of it. And it just, dude, it didn't take off. But what is taking off is Apex, right? Like, Apex right now is absolutely crushing it. So it's hard to deny that that's where they want to go moving forward, because they are building such a fan base with the Battle Royale, and now they're going to be able to spin off. Dude, when you watch the opening cinematics for the announcements of characters and their new trailers for this and then the new
they're good.
they're fantastic. I want a game set in that art style, though. Like, when you actually get into Apex, the art is obviously different than their cinematics. What if we can get that cinematic experience in a game?
That would be nice. I like Apex and what they have going for it. I'm really almost offended as a fan that they're gonna take something and just rebrand it with the new and shiny. And although I understand that, it's just really frustrating because the player base behind Apex has been asking for new characters. What can we pull from the Titanfall universe, which is what I will remain calling it. But there's 100 different characters you can pull, but they're all 100 years in the past. So it doesn't quite work in the ways of Apex. But then again, there's 2 or possibly 3 robot characters. I think you could find a way of making it work. You know, Ash the Mercenary's great-granddaughter is fighting now. That's cool.
Yeah. It's a hot game, man. It's hard to deny what they're doing.
What does this say for Jedi Fallen Order 2, though? If Respawn is trying to branch out, do you think that means it's closer to finished, or is this now several years out?
No, so Jedi Fallen Order 2, I believe, was like, when was that announced? 2 years ago? A year ago?
I think it was 2 years ago.
Okay, so the first game was already been and gone, right? Like, dude, that was a great game. They've already got the majority of the foundation built behind that game, right? So they're going to start rebuilding and kind of building up off of that one. It was back then, though, they're trying to figure out the actual scope of the game and how everything's going to function. Now that they've got that in the back of their pocket, I think they'll be able to move a little bit quicker. And I think moving forward, Jedi Fallen Order 2 is probably another 2 years out, is my guess. I think we're looking at 20. We might see it next year, but I think that might be stretching it a little bit. I think we're really into 2024. And if they're just looking to build the team to get into this realm for Apex, we're probably another 4 years out at least for that, right?
Yeah.
They're only, I'd say 5. I'd say closer to 5, just because they're starting to build that team in order to get into this project. So we're going to get into Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 2, hopefully in the next 2 years. A year would be nice. Honestly, I'm really kind of starving for another Star Wars experience like Jedi Fallen Order 1. And then they also have another first-person shooter Star Wars game in the works as well. So Respawn right now, that
sounds exciting to me.
Yeah, they're very busy, right? They're crushing a lot of stuff over there. So they're expanding their team. I think moving Vince around from studios kind of brings up 2 things. I think it's cool that he's able to bounce around and start managing and look to focus EA in a better direction than what they have in the past. But it's also, how far do you push this guy without stretching him too thin? The guy's one man, right? Let's not separate him in 2. Make sure he can manage what he can manage, and make sure that we can get the projects that they need to be at the end of the day. And I think getting in the realm of Apex, dude, I'm cool to hear what they have in mind for an Apex single player game. I definitely, obviously, would love Titanfall 3, but that's just not going to happen.
Well, I'm wondering if it's gonna wink at the audience the whole time. Like, this is Titanfall 3. This is what you get. It's just a little different.
Do you? They gotta have some kind of tie into the Titanfall world or universe.
You know,
right?
it's like when you're trying to feed a kid turkey, but you tell them it's chicken.
It's chicken.
You know? Yeah. That's kind of what I'm thinking
fair.
of. You know,
Yeah,
that could work on me, but it's only for my enjoyment of Titanfall that works.
Yeah.
But no, I think you're right. If whatever they touch seemingly turns to gold, and I don't want to jinx it, but
yeah,
Apex is an excellent IP, and I think they really could build a great single player out of it.
I think so too. I think we could be in for a great game. It's just, when you think we're going to see it? I think it's about 5 years out still, if they're just looking to build that team and bring in other engineers and artists and things like that, right? So we're going to be a while yet, but it is kind of exciting to see the future of Apex still evolving and not getting stuck in just one realm like we've kind of seen with PUBG in a sense, right? PUBG keeps expanding too. They just dropped a new map, but at the same time, it's still just a battle royale. They did do the spin-off with the Callisto Protocol kind of thing, but even that is now its own entity and not tied into the universe of PUBG, which didn't make any sense in the first place.
Yeah, it was
right?
strange to kind of place where that was going to be anyways.
So weird. Yeah. What else is weird, Scott, is that Assassin's Creed Liberation is getting delisted, but people that own it still will be able to access it. Originally, Ubisoft was just pulling the game, dude. Even if you owned it, you still couldn't play it. They've had a change of heart, mostly because of the backlash of gamers coming to light. But Dom over VG247 tells us a little bit more. Ubisoft has clarified that decommissioning Assassin's Creed Liberation HD on Steam will only affect online features and DLC. Dude, so you still don't get the DLC. Like, you're still losing a part of the game, and that players will still be able to access the games they have purchased once the process has gone through. Quote, as stated in our support article, only DLCs and online features will be affected by the upcoming decommissioning. Current owners of those games will still be able to access, play, or re-download them, end quote, the publisher said in a statement to VG247. Quote, our teams are working with our partners to update the information across all storefronts and are also assessing all available options for players who will be impacted by these games. Online services are decommissioned on September 1st, 2022. It has always been our intention to do everything in our power to allow those legacy titles to remain available in the best possible condition for players, and this is what we are working towards, end quote. Scott, what are your thoughts on decommissioning a lot of Ubisoft titles, including in Assassin's Creed Liberation?
It is unfortunate for those of us that are collectors, sort of idea. That's where you're going to feel this the most. But
sure,
these games are aging now. You know, I haven't looked at that list, the full list, to see what the most current, most modern game they're decommissioning is. But it does make sense as you get a decade or further from that release, from when that game experienced its high. Well, it does make sense to shut it down eventually. Although that's unfortunate, but it's just kind of the way the world works. And they're going to be taking a lot of server space, any sort of online connectivity ability for the new Assassin's Creed Infinity.
Yeah, sure. It gets into the realm of video game preservation is tough, right? Like, there's this whole online world that we live in each and every day, dude. Like, we talked about how our internet went down last week, and we were screwed. What do you do?
Oh,
my Xbox
if that lasted another 24 hours, you would have seen people in the streets,
right? Like, it's just kind of like the world almost ended in a sense because the internet went down, which is a sad thing to think about because at one point there was no internet. But at the same time, dude, I don't
remember those days.
That's how old I am. But I was mad because I couldn't even access my Xbox library, right?
That's the part that really burns, isn't it? This DRM situation, it makes sense in one way, but it doesn't in the other. I found a meme. I shared it, I believe, because our friend of the show, Brad, is always about physical media.
Yeah.
And I am as well to an extent. I stopped after Xbox One, but just having that, you think there's a game on that disc.
No.
Oh, you would be mistaken. Yeah, there's just, even if there is a game, it could be 99% full, but it will not start. And that is so frustrating. Like I said yesterday, though, I did get into Elden Ring. Good on them for that. Again, game of the year for many reasons. And then Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. That's pulled me back in now. So I made it through those 24 hours of blackout, but not everybody is going to enjoy that. And game preservation is just, that's going to be a problem forever.
Well, that's just it, because we are in such an online community now. The minute the servers go down, that's it. The game's just gone, right? Like, how do you preserve that?
Well,
you can't.
It makes sense if there is an online kind of reason to sign in. But if I'm playing, we'll say, single player on Battlefield Hardline, you know, why does that need to check the internet? That's not what I'm there for. But I remember back in the day, and here's where I'll say back in the day, when you owned a game, when you bought a game, it was yours to do with what you want. You can't commercially resell it. You can't put on a production with it. That made a lot of sense. But you could produce a backup copy of that. And that was a whole world away, though. That was a long time ago.
Well, and now it's just kind of one of those things. The internet exploded with Ubisoft doing all this stuff, right, and taking things off. And I kind of made a bit of a comment of, Oh yeah, absolutely. I made a comment of nowadays we don't own the game. Like really, I know you paid $80, whatever your copy was worth, your collector's edition, all that stuff. Technically, you really don't own it. At the end of the day, you're more or
Hey,
less renting it to play the game. It's
that would give some value to collector's edition, would it not?
well, you would think,
That would
right?
satisfy the definition of collecting.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll see what the future holds now for Ubisoft and more Assassin's Creed titles. But in the meantime, Scott, let's get into Jade Raymond. Haven Studios is already inspiring other PlayStation studios, and not just with this game. The game's veteran discusses building a studio in the cloud and working with PlayStation architect Mark Cerny. This comes from Christopher over at gamesindustry.biz. There is a huge article, so I definitely encourage you to go over there and check it out, read it. We'd be here the whole episode if I was going to put this in here. So I wanted to pull a little bit. The ink is now dried. The team at Haven Studios, the Canadian developer led by industry veteran Jade Raymond, are now officially PlayStation employees. The two companies announced the planned acquisition in March, and when we spoke back then, it was clear why Sony was interested in buying a team that had only been funded in 2021. For starters, it's a company filled with established talent. Not just Jade Raymond, but a whole number of experienced names come to light with Assassin's Creed, Rainbow Six. A lot of people from Ubisoft she seemed to have pulled over, so take note of that. Today, as the deal is finally confirmed, we've caught up with Haven again, and a lot has changed in just a short amount of time. The developer now has 106 employees, a rise over more than 50 since October last year, so it's certainly no small indie team anymore. And what's more, it's made some key engineering hires, significantly increased its investment in R&D and the cloud. Quote, "We already mentioned that we built the studio in a cloud and that our vision since we started during the pandemic." Raymond tells us, quote, "We didn't have offices at first and we thought, why not innovate here and avoid people having these big machines and VPNing them." End quote. And new quote. Man, there's a lot of quotes here because it's a massive article. Go check it out. I highly encourage you to do that. We had a cloud team initially that was about 6 people working on new ways to work. Now we've just welcomed another 21 engineers to focus on long-term cloud innovation because we really believe is going to be a game changer in terms of how games are made. Quote, "We think about the game engines that we have around that were all built several years ago, and things have changed a lot. Our games have a lot more data. We're making exclusive for the PS5, and it's a live service game. So we have additional challenges of how we do make that kind of game and the kind of delivery, but with the PlayStation level graphics that people expect, all while allowing those constant updates and building something that could be a living experience." Also, one more quote, Scott, to wrap it up, and then we'll get into this. So, Mark Cerny is one of the main reasons we're investing so much in R&D and in this very senior engineer team. Raymond teases it's not just tied to the cloud, but also some more forward-thinking R&D. I'm not able to say too much now, but obviously one of the other things that's been a big attractor is exciting for our team with PlayStation. Of course, Mark Cerny is kind of a rock star too, so being able to collaborate with him is really exciting. No kidding.
Says Jade Raymond, the other rock star in the room. That's great.
Yeah, so there's a lot to kind of take in on that one, Scott. The forward thinking, dude, I really just want to know, what are they working on, and why the cloud, right? The cloud is, I think, the new future. She even mentioned in the article about Stadia, because that's what they were supposed to be building over there, and then Stadia just shut everything down, and now she's over here with PlayStation, kind of picking up, I think, some of the pieces and then forward thinking them and moving into the realm of PlayStation. We all know PlayStation right now is focused on live service games. They want to bring in about 10 games in the next couple of years to the PlayStation market. So, dude, I think bringing Jade Raymond and her team in makes a good stepping point to start moving that innovation forward on the PlayStation side of things.
Oh, certainly. I'm not a fan of live service games, but I agree. Cloud has to be kind of the way forward. It's the new technology, and it's gonna bubble and become useful, or or it won't in the case of Stadia, unfortunately. But Jade Raymond and having a whole team, a lot of Ubisoft employees, that makes me very, very confident that they're going to come up with something of note. And maybe this R&D is all the back end kind of systems. How do we create the infrastructure?
Yeah.
For a cloud-like operation when it comes to creating a game. But in any case, even if that is the simple of what they're doing, that's going to be big for the years to come. And I think that's great.
Well, we're seeing a lot of the engines now even move forward. Like Unreal Engine is using what they call a human. What's their human metaverse or something along that line, where you can go in and make an actual character, but it's on the fly. It's all done through the cloud. You don't even need a high-end PC to be able to run that program. It's all done through the internet and just left it at that. And I think Jade is kind of maybe developing some of those tools for the other studios within the PlayStation, like Naughty Dog, like Sucker Punch, to come in, Insomniac Games, to be able to focus and not have to worry about, okay, we need a whole room just full of servers and this, that, and the other, right? And it's just one more step forward that Jade is once again an innovator within our industry to push the whole thing forward. Very exciting to see what their game is, though. It sounds like it's going to be a chilled experience with an online service mechanic, and it's going to keep the people going forever. I don't know. I'm really curious, though.
Oh, that seems to be what all live service strives to do. But,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm hopeful for this one.
Me too, man. Very, very hopeful, very excited, that's for sure. We do have a couple articles, Scott, that we're going to push off of for today. Maybe we'll carry one or two in tomorrow, but for now, let's get into what games are out, because we got a couple things to talk about I want to get into for sure.
Oh, we have hardcore looter shooter Marauders announces exclusive closed PC beta beginning next week. That beta runs from the 20th to the 25th of July. Get a hands-on at the Battle for the Void LAN event at TwitchCon Europe in Amsterdam this weekend. Whoa, okay, so they're coming out with a lot of different preview ability. I thought LAN event. I haven't read those. I haven't read those words together in 10 years.
Dude, Team 17,
not since Modern Warfare 2.
I think they have something that's really cool here. The Marauders game looks pretty sweet. I think it's one you're going to like. I think you should definitely check that one out, Scott.
Oh, looter shooters isn't my normal thing, but that could change.
This one might be it.
There is also Century Age of Ashes landing on PlayStation and Xbox consoles this summer, along with Season 1 content. We got to play this one on Steam, and I enjoyed that quite a bit. Now, free-to-play competitive Dragon title launches on Xbox One XS on July 12th and PlayStation 4 and 5 on July 19th, with extra content across all platforms. Additionally, Season 1, A Shadow Over Skeld, will now be live on PC with a new Dragon Rider class, Valkyrian Sanctuary map, Dragon Pass leveling system, and more. That seems to be a fresh update for Season 1. That's cool.
Dude, I'm so in. Are you coming back? I want to go. I want in. I'm playing again. I'm going to download it immediately once the show's done.
I'll get back on. Now, I know it is on Xbox One at the moment. I've played it quite a bit. I'm not sure if you prefer controller. I think that might have been a comment when we were playing before.
Very much more preferred.
Well, I'm ready to fight some more if you are. We also have a few game releases today. Garden Story on the Xbox One, X and S. Time on Frog Island on the Xbox One, XS, PS4, PS5, Switch, and PC.
Dude, I read the title. I was like, what?
I'm looking at the graphic ability of this now. Well, it's got a style to it.
It certainly does. I'm probably not going to check it out, I'll be honest. I want to check out Century. It does look very Nintendo in Animal Crossing-esque, I would think, right? Something along that line. Yeah. But there's something for you to check out for sure. I want to check out Century Age of Ashes, get back into that game. I had a blast, dude. Dragons are one of the coolest things ever designed, ever came up with, ever imagined.
You do get excited about dragons in just about every game.
Yeah, no, I definitely get pretty pumped about it. In the Season 1, they actually have a season now that I'm kind of, okay, cool. We have something to kind of grind for and things. I always find myself now, like, I need a purpose. You know what I mean? Like, I jump into PUBG, but at the same time, it's not really, I'm not there to grind that one out for some reason.
Nate said that about Halo, too, actually, which is kind of surprising to me. You need that carrot on the stick, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's just funny how things change.
Yeah, certainly have. Scott, what's changed is our show is done for today, everybody. This has been ITG Daily, the show that brings you the hottest in gaming news. You can join us live over on Twitch and YouTube, but if you can't join us live, hit us up later. InsideTheGame.ca, podcast services, and TV streaming networks around the globe. I'm Drew, that's Scott. We'll see you all tomorrow inside the game.